In 1987, arcade gamers in the United States were exposed to a revolutionary new title from the company Konami called Contra. Taking inspiration from the political climate at the time, Contra presented players with something different and distinct from the usual slate of machines you would find in the arcades. While games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, or Galaga offered family-friendly excitement for gamers of all ages, Contra held a more adult atmosphere, throwing people into its gritty world of urban environments and guerrilla warfare. A year later, Konami would have the great idea to port the title to the Nintendo, exposing it to millions of new players and setting up its legacy as one of the greatest titles of the pre-Polygon era. In the 1980s, the United States became involved in yet another proxy conflict of the Cold War, this time in Nicaragua. There, the United States, under the Reagan Doctrine, began backing reactionary rebels in order to overthrow the government, which harbored Marxist sympathies. Dubbed Contras, a shorthand version of the Spanish word Contra-Revolucionario, or counter-revolutionary, these groups would go on to gain notoriety for carrying out numerous war crimes. Despite this, their constant presence in the airwaves at the time could not be denied, and so the video game Contra was born. To avoid the controversies, of course, the Japanese version embraced a more sci-fi setting by taking place in the far future of New Zealand in the year 2633 and featuring alien enemies, while the European release completely changed the title to the ambiguous Grisor. The American localization, however, mostly embraced the political charged backdrop that influenced the development of Contra, moving it back to the Amazon and placing it in the contemporary year of 1987, though still retaining the alien nature of the henchmen. All of these things would help Contra achieve success, as not only was it slyly commentating on real-world events broadcasted daily, but it also played to the rebirth of science fiction that was dominating 1980s movies. Contra was not only one of the first entries into the run-and-gun subgenre of shoot-'em-up games, but it also was a game that held many features, both graphically and gameplay-wise, that were new to the world at the time. First and foremost were the character models. While downgraded for the Nintendo, the original arcade ROMs gave players a naturally proportioned protagonist, reminiscent of action heroes at the time. Combined with their detailed attire, and you had an example of Konami not taking shortcuts when it came to display quality. But of course, no amount of 8-bit wonder would matter if the game was not fun, and in that regard Contra far exceeded expectations. Not only did Contra offer couch co-op on all platforms, but it also gave players realistic methods of fighting the various endgame enemies, including shooting diagonally, being able to turn, and going prone. Certain levels also featured 3D-style areas where players could move forward into the background, Ultimata style, something that even the massively innovated Super Mario Bros. Didn't have. The Nintendo version of Contra also gained infamy for its difficulty, with the publication of IGN actually calling it one of the hardest games of all time. Indeed, Konami, whether they intended it or not, laid the foundation for the unforgiving bullet hell genre of shooter games. All of these aspects gave Contra an authentic feel that space shooters like Galaga at the time lacked, making it a series that was, in a way ahead of its time on many fronts. Most of us will fondly remember the direct sequel Super Contra, as well as the SNES's third entry, Contra 3: The Alien Wars. While they unfortunately moved the series away from its real-life roots into more science fiction territory, they ultimately helped establish the strength and longevity of the series and shooters as a whole. As such, many great franchises like Metal Slug owe their successes to Contra. Though the series has fallen out of favor with its modern sequels, the original Contra games will forever remain classic staples of the golden age of arcade games. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, by all means hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. You guys have a kick-ass day, and we'll see you next time.